While 2025 has given us some absolutely incredible games to sink our teeth into, there have been a few that could have used a little more polish, while some others should have never seen the light of day in their current state. Although video games and the experiences they provide are quite subjective, some titles have come out this year that have perhaps earned their bad rep. The good news is that they can serve as a lesson in hindsight for their developers and publishers, while also allowing the rest of the industry to learn from their mistakes, hopefully. With that being said, it's time to take a look at some of the worst games that 2025 has brought to our libraries. Number 10. Tron Catalyst. Tron Catalyst had the potential to put a unique spin on the popular Tron movies, with its unique art style and top-down action perspective. However, BitHell Games dropped the ball here by playing it a bit too safe, with the resulting experience never pushing its players beyond a certain limit, and feeling quite underwhelming as a result. Make no mistake, Exo's adventures and the central conflict between the core and automata are a solid premise for a video game to be sure, but BitHell failed to capitalize on its source material in ways that mattered. The result is a game that seems ambitious on the surface, but is largely forgettable thanks to its execution. Its combat never challenges its players, while its level design and narrative are merely serviceable, instead of being great ways to present complex themes like corporate greed, time travel, and dystopian societies. Although it does have its takers, Tron Catalyst should have been the definitive Tron experience for fans and newcomers alike. It's a darn shame it didn't make the most out of its source material though. Number 9. Spirit of the North 2. Just like the previous title on this list, Spirit of the North 2 has the dubious distinction of wasting a fantastic premise. Infuse Studio had an opportunity to build on the mechanics and story that it set up in the original game, but instead failed to do more with its take on a fox and raven working together to dispel the influence of a truly malicious antagonist. It's rare that a game uses its opening act to make its players the catalyst for all the calamity that they will have to deal with as they continue through their playthrough. That's just what Spirit of the North 2 does, however, but that inspired piece of narrative flair soon falls flat in the wake of an uninspired world with insultingly simple puzzles and lackluster exploration. While its world building was on point for the most part at least, this is a game that remains largely forgettable once you roll the credits on its relatively short adventure. We really hope that Infuse pulls up its socks and does more with a world that looked pretty darn good, but had so little in it that it may have been okay to let it succumb to the influence of the dark shaman who is trying to corrupt it. Number 8. Creature Keeper. While Creature Keeper does deserve some slack considering it's an indie title developed by a single individual, it does earn its place on this list thanks to its egregious wasted potential on display throughout its runtime. Its ambitions to be a rival to Pokemon or Palworld are clear to see, but it wastes the potential of capturing friendly beasties to battle at your side in favor of a befriending mechanic that's more reliant on how many treats you currently carry in your inventory. That lackluster approach carries over to its combat and world building, seriously limiting its potential to be more than a passing distraction in a world filled with more entertaining titles. Sodland is not a place you might find yourself going back to in the interim between your last great game and the release of your next big one. Number 7. Captain Blood. A game that broke out of development hell and is based on a fairly interesting pirate novel should have been quite the entertainment, right? However, Seawolf Studios' take on piracy quickly disabused us of that notion, with Captain Blood failing to capture the highs and lows of the 1685 Spanish Main in an adventure that certainly needed more time at sea before it became a true swashbuckler. Its hack-and-slash gameplay loop failed to make the most out of a combat system that seemed reasonably good, but was ultimately let down by clunky controls and a main story that failed to dig up any narrative gold. Captain Blood is sadly the worst pirate we have ever heard of. Number 6. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. It's pretty puzzling that a behemoth like Nintendo failed to learn from its rival Sony when it came to creating an experience that introduced Switch 2 owners to their shiny new handheld. Unlike Astrobot, which was a free add-on for PS5 owners, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour fails to highlight any of the new device's best features in a way that actually justifies its $10 price tag. The best way that we can explain it is by comparing it to a tour of a large office given to you by an intern who is very clearly unpaid, and subsequently disinterested in what they actually do there. It's quite disheartening to see such a half-hearted attempt from a studio that generally makes incredibly great games, especially for its homegrown consoles. Nintendo will certainly want to revisit this title and perhaps get back to the drawing board for future editions. Number 5. Ambulance Life, a Paramedic Simulator. It's rather surprising that Acer Interactive followed up its excellent police simulator Patrol Officers with Ambulance Life, a paramedic simulator. While one would expect that the studio would take what worked in its last outing and develop and add new wrinkles to the subsequent one, what we were actually given was a buggy, uninspired mess that failed to capture the tension and impact of what a paramedic working under pressure would experience in the field. Instead, we were left trying our best to get our patients loaded up in the ambulance, while its day one patch rendered its diagnostic mechanic all but useless, leaving us with a bunch of patients whose pain and suffering were indicative of our own emotions playing this title's mind-numbing minigames. Honestly, you'd be better off actually training to be a paramedic in the real world if you want to see what that feels like in action. Number 4, Still Wakes the Deep, Siren's Rest. This DLC chapter to one of 2024's most terrifying horror games is probably a surprising presence on this list, much like the main game's terrifying threats. However, Siren's Rest fails to deliver on an exciting promise of uncovering more of what made the Barra D oil rig fall to the depths of Davy Jones's locker. With 10 years passing between the DLC and the base game story, a new protagonist looking to get more answers about the ill-fated oil rig fails to find the answers she needs, thanks to a less linear approach to discovering secrets and annoying pathing issues that seriously limit her ability to find what she was actually looking for. The relatively shorter runtime also works against it, making Siren's Rest the weakest part of the experience that the Chinese Room brought to the table in a horror game that had us at the edge of our seats last year. Number 3, Dollhouse Behind the Broken Mirror. Now, we've seen everything that Dollhouse Behind the Broken Mirror brings to the table before. There's an amnesiac protagonist who needs to visit a desolate location filled with the secrets of her past. There are spooky dolls, maniacal clowns, and a whole host of horrors standing in her way. There are puzzles to solve and secrets to unlock here. But, unfortunately, these staples of the horror genre take a back seat to a lackluster narrative, egregious pacing issues, badly synced audio, and severely limiting mechanics that make this game quite difficult to recommend. Sodesco's attempts to build up its Dollhouse franchise needs a lot of work, and fast. Number 2, Game of Thrones King's Road. Netmarble Neo's attempt to leverage off the success of HBO's largely successful take on Westeros may have been a good attempt if it wasn't for its progression systems that seemed hell-bent on eating into our wallets before allowing us to actually uncover more of its take on George R.R. Martin's fictional world. Trying to worm your way into the affections of the lords and ladies of the land is a tedious grind if you take the free-to-play route, taking a lot away from a Game of Thrones experience that brought an impressive character creator and honestly a lot of cool moments with series staples like Jon Snow. It's an unpolished take on Westeros that only the Lannisters might be able to successfully navigate given their seemingly deep pockets. Number 1, Mind's Eye.
Your uniform. And your sidearm. That weapon links to your lens through retinal connection.
Build a Rocket Boy would certainly wish that their gaming debut was not the belle of the ball on this list, but, well, here we are. Mind's Eye brought a gorgeous yet empty open world to its players, populating with enemies and NPCs that were quite dumb by modern standards. Those problems were further exacerbated by a boring combat loop, a mediocre main story, and a very puzzling endgame loop that we still honestly cannot make any sense of at all. Its bugs and frame drops only added to the confusion, while Build-A-Rocket Boy's poor damage control efforts have relegated their pilot project to the depths of gaming hell. So, as it stands, Mind's Eye best feature is that it serves as a bad example and a benchmark in what not to do when making a new game. So what were your thoughts on these titles? Were there any others that you think deserve a place on this list? Hit us up in the comments and fire away at the games that you thought were a letdown this year so far. And if you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.